everybody, and welcome to day 3 of our yoga challenge. Today we're going to get started in child's pose on our mat. So bring your knees out wide and bring your big toes to meet behind you at the back of your mat. Walk your hands out and place your forehead on the ground. Letting the day's troubles and worries go, or if you are practicing with me in the morning, don't think about the day's troubles or worries. Just come to your mat, come here now, and center yourself here on the mat. Let your torso hang heavy in between your knees. We're going to take 3 deep breaths, and we're going to sigh them out of our mouth. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. On your next inhale, come up to tabletop, stacking your hips over your knees and your shoulders over your wrists. Making sure that you're not dumping into your shoulders, that you're pushing the mat away from you and coming out through your shoulders. Keep a slight bend in your elbows. On an inhale, we're going to drop our bellies to the ground, bringing our gaze up just a little, and on an exhale, we're going to round our spine. Inhale, drop your belly. Exhale, round your spine. Inhale, drop your belly. Exhale, round your spine. One more time at your own pace. Come into a neutral spine. I want you to make big circles with your hips. You'll drop your belly to the ground and then arch it back up. You'll find a nice stretch in your side bodies as well. This is a great stretch for if your back hurts or your sides are sore. Go the opposite direction, the way you started. Come to a neutral spine. You can leave your toes untucked with the tops of your feet on the mat, or you can tuck your toes if you'd like for a little extra stability. On an inhale, we're going to sweep our right hand overhead, and on an exhale, we're going to thread the needle, bringing our right hand underneath our left hand and our forehead, the side of our head to the ground. Making sure to keep our hips stacked over our knees. If you'd like, you can find a bind here by taking your right hand and swinging it around the back side of your body and gripping the inner thigh with your fingers. Be here for 2 breaths. If you found a bind, come out of it, planting your hand on the mat, raising up, bringing your right hand back on the mat. On an inhale, we're going to sweep our left hand overhead. On an inhale, we're going to swing our hand through underneath our right hand for thread the needle. If you found a bind, take one here. And be here for 2 breaths. If you're in your bind, come out, placing your hand on the ground and coming back up to tabletop. Tuck your toes and lift your knees an inch off of the ground, firing up your core. Come into down dog. It's our first down dog of the day, so feel free to walk it out here, finding any stretching that your body needs. Feel free to move from high plank back into down dog. And we'll find a little bit of stillness here, taking 3 breaths. With our next inhale, we're going to step or hop to the top of our mat. Lift for our halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale, we're going to sweep our hands overhead, finding a slight back bend at the top of the mountain. And we'll bring our hands through heart center. Rock back and forth on your feet from the balls of your feet to your heels, finding some balance here. Bring your hands to the side of your body with your palms facing towards the front of the mat. Making sure your shoulders are stacked over your hips and your hips are over your ankles. Come into stillness. And with an inhale, we're going to sweep our hands overhead. And an exhale, we're going to swan dive forward. Coming into forward fold. From here, we're going to heel toe our hips out, or heel toe our feet out about as wide as our mat, just a little bit wider than hip distance. We're going to let our heads hang heavy. And if you'd like, you can grab opposite elbows and swing back and forth for a gentle stretch in your back. Come into stillness, heel toe your feet back together. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, planting your feet on the mat, stepping your feet back to high plank. You can find a little bit of movement here if you'd like, rocking back and forth on your feet. Helps fire up your core just a little bit and gets a nice stretch in your calves. Making sure that your hips are not popped up or tucked real hard under. You want to find a nice line between your head and your feet. And it's going to be a little hard to tell since you're not looking at yourself. Flow through your chaturanga. Bring your knees down to the mat. Lower down. Inhale for up dog. Exhale for down dog. Take 3 deep breaths here. On your next inhale, we're going to step or hop to the top of the mat. Halfway lift. Exhale for forward fold. Inhale our hands over our head, finding a slight back bend here. Bringing our hands through heart center. Come into mountain with your palms facing forward. Inhale your hands overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands and flow through your chaturanga. We'll take 2 deep breaths here. On an inhale, we're going to step or hop to the top of the mat. Halfway lift. Exhale for forward fold. Inhale our hands overhead, finding slight back bend. Bringing your hands to heart center.
For the last sun salutation of this series, we're going to flow through our sun salutation at our own pace. We'll all meet in down dog.
Find some stillness in your down dog, lowering your heart rate by controlling your breath. Sun salutations can really get your blood pumping and your heart pumping. On an inhale, we're going to float our left leg to the our right leg to the ceiling for three-legged down dog, making sure to keep your hips square towards the mat and your shoulders square towards the mat as well. On an inhale, we're going to bring knee to nose. We're going to plant our right foot in between our hands, bringing our back knee down to the ground. Set your balance up here, making sure that your knee is tucked over your ankle. Whenever you are in any sort of lunge where you're lunging into your right or your left, you always want to make sure that your knee is tucked over your ankle to prevent injury from your knee, or to your knee. Once you've set your balance up, sweep your hands overhead. And you want to think about scissoring your thighs together, so this isn't a passive pose. You're finding activation in both of your thighs. You're getting a stretch on your back leg. Take a few breaths here. Now on an exhale, we're going to bring our hands down to the mat, and we're going to straighten out our right leg, letting our toes pop up off of the mat, walking our fingers back a little bit. You're going to want to flex your toes back towards your face. And your hips will more than likely stack over your knees. Maybe they'll be a little bit over behind your knee or a little bit forward, but you don't want to move your left leg at all. You'll find a nice stretch in the back of your right leg. We'll be here for a few breaths. With every inhale, I want you to think about growing your spine taller, and every exhale, I want you to think about folding just a little bit deeper over your extended leg. On your next inhale, you're going to walk your hands back towards the top of your mat, bending your leg. Pop your knee off of the ground. You're going to plant your left hand next to your right foot, and you're going to sweep your right hand overhead for a twist. Making sure to stay strong through that back leg, coming to the ball of your foot. On an exhale, we're going to bring our right hand down to the mat, and we're going to bring our right hand back to meet our left foot and flow through chaturanga. Meeting in down dog. On your next inhale, you're going to float your left leg towards the ceiling for three-legged down dog. Don't let your left hip roll up. You want to make sure that it's rolled down, keeping your hips square to the mat and your shoulders square to the mat too. On an inhale, we're going to bring knee to nose, and then we're going to plant our left foot in between our hands. What we do on one side, we have to do on the other to keep things balanced. So lower your right knee down to the ground and set up your low lunge. Bringing your fingertips off of the ground, and when you're ready, sweep your hands overhead. If you feel a little wind here, make sure to tighten your core just a little bit more to find a little bit more balance. On an exhale, we're going to float our hands down to the ground, straightening out our left leg, letting our toes pop up off the ground and walking our hands back just a little bit.
for half split on the left side. Make sure your toes are flexed back towards your face. We'll be here for a few breaths, and with every breath I want you to think of lengthening your spine, and every exhale I want you to think of folding just a little bit deeper over that extended leg. With an inhale, we're going to walk our hands back towards the top of our mat, bending our leg. Pop your back knee up off the ground, keep your right hand planted, and sweep your left hand overhead for a side twist. If it is easier for you to keep your knee on the ground, feel free to do that. You're still getting the same benefits. On an exhale, float your hand back down. Shoot your foot back to meet your right foot. And flow through a chaturanga. We'll all be meeting in down dog. Take a few breaths here. And on an inhale, you're going to come through to seated, shooting your legs out in front of you with your toes flexed back towards you. If you want, you can kind of pick up the meat of your glute, pick it up on both sides and sit back down. It's going to help kind of propel you forward a little bit for forward fold. We're going to inhale our hands overhead. On an exhale, we're going to forward fold, bringing our torso over our legs. You can hold on to your shins, your ankles, your feet. If you have it in your practice, you can clasp your hands around your feet. We'll be here for a few breaths. On an inhale, come back up. You're going to bend your left leg, bringing the heel of your foot close to your sit bones, probably about an inch or two away. You can stay here if you'd like, or you can cross your right foot over your left leg. You're going to take your left elbow and you're going to bring it to the outside of your right knee. This is a pretty deep stretch, so if that's a little too deep for you, you can always bring your right or your left hand to your right knee and use the force to kind of twist your chest to the right side. If you have your knee to your elbow or your elbow to your knee, you can bring your right hand about 6 inches behind you for a little bit of stabilization and twist. The next inhale, release your spine and bring your chest forward. Shoot your right leg out to meet your left and bend your left leg. You can stay here or you can bring your right foot or your left foot to the outside of your right thigh. And what we did on one side, we'll do on the other. So take the same twist that you did on the other side. On your next inhale, come out of your bind, bring your torso or your chest towards the front. Bring your hands parallel to your mat and slowly lower down onto your back. We're going to come into happy baby. So bring your legs up, grab onto your feet, and you can rock back and forth here from side to side. You can stretch your legs out. Find any movement here. This is a pretty liberal pose. You can find any movement that you need here that feels good. We'll be here for a few breaths. Release your feet and bring them down to the ground. Bring your palms face up. Close your eyes, coming into corpse pose, into our savasana. Let everything release here, let everything go. This is a passive, restful pose. Bring some movement back into your feet and your fingers, whether your toes, hands. Bring your knees up towards your chest and roll over to your right side. Push up, come into seated pose. Bring your hands to heart center. Bow your head and close your eyes. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.